In this video, I'm going to share a couple things that I've had in the back of my head over the last few weeks after going to all these seminars across the world. A lot of common issues that I've seen and things that just shocked me. As well as I'm going to tell you some long-term goals of where I'm going to be taking this channel and what you guys will be able to see in the future.
You're watching the Jake Kaminsky YouTube channel.
If you're new here, my name is Jake Kaminsky. I am a two-time Olympic silver medalist in the sport of archery. On this channel, I've been doing a tuning series, a form series, and started a fitness series as well. And I've been all across the world lately doing seminars, and I've just got a few thoughts that I want to share about the archery community as a whole, tell you where this channel is headed. And if this is your first time, I do appreciate you watching. And if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified anytime a new video is uploaded. I'll post links to all of the series in the description below. And let's get to it. So after holding a few seminars across the world, well, at least across the United States and one in Europe, in the UK, and the London area specifically, I have a couple of thoughts that I really want to share with the archery community just based on what I've seen. Before I really got back into the sport, you know, I was still just operating from a standpoint of being at a top tier, right? And I really wasn't hands-on with a whole bunch of people that wanted to get to the top tier, or at least wanted to better themselves. And one of the very biggest things that I've really noticed about the sport in general is just lack of information out there. So, you know, from the positive feedback that I've gotten from the seminars and from this channel and everything else, it's just kind of really motivated me to get back into it, to really give more information, to give more reasoning, to be there with better suggestions, because I'm still astonished at the lack of continuity between information sources on what to do, how to do, why to do, reasoning behind thinking, and you know, the waters are just so muddied. So you know, I'm glad to be able to do this again. Another thing that I noticed equipment wise is that everybody that has come to one of my seminars, everybody that's done it and gone through the tuning stuff, not one person has had their limbs properly aligned. Not one. Some people had their limbs aligned to each other, but they were off center because they didn't know to use the stabilizer as a reference, like I've shown you guys in some of the videos. Actually, I'll put a link up in the top over here to that stabilizer setup video. Actually, to the how to check your stabilizer straightness video. It's just, you know, a lot of people had a lot of excuses. They said, oh, I didn't, you know, I just watched your video, didn't have time, or, you know, I've been thinking about it, or I've been meaning to, or whatever. It just, you know, everybody had their reasoning behind it, and that's fine. You know, that's okay. You don't have to have a perfect setup right away. But I think what's most important, and the best thing that I can suggest, is to just give a bit of effort. Try. If you try and it doesn't work out, you can always go back. You know, I always document, I always write down what my equipment setup is. Or once I got to the level of where I could have two bows, I would have my primary bow that I would have set up, tuned as best as I possibly could. I wouldn't adjust it or change it, because once it was great, I didn't want to, you know, potentially throw it off. So I'd grab another bow and I'd tinker with that. But before I had that, you know, luxury, I had to document everything. So I would have a data sheet of square one, the string, the twists, the knocking point height, the brace height, the tiller split, the stabilizer setup, the plunger spring setting, everything was documented. And anytime I made changes, I could always just go right back to my documentation and go back to square one, especially if something didn't work out quite well. You know, in this sport, it's a lot of tinkering. There's a lot of things you can play with. And even though you have something perfect and shooting 300s every time in the backyard or at the home range or wherever, it doesn't mean it's going to work in competition under pressure. So it's always best to simulate pressure and try to, you know, mimic that situation outside in your backyard. Obviously that's difficult, so sometimes it doesn't work in tournaments and you got to change it back to a different setup or continually change. So all I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to just try. Give a bit of effort outside of your comfort zone. Everybody has been there. I was there once. I didn't even know how to tune a bow at all. The way that I used to tune when I was younger was, let's just move the plunger out. Well, groups got worse, move the plunger back in, groups got better. Perfect. That was it. That was all my tuning method was. So, with all this information that I'm giving you guys, I really would encourage you to just try. Give it a go. There's no reason that you shouldn't give it a go. Other things that I see common in people's equipment that they are missing, it's, in my head, they're so simple and so easy to fix, that they just kind of slip my mind. But when I see people having them as issues, it blows my mind. Like, how, I don't know. It's just amazing to me that stuff like that happens and people don't know the fix for them. So I'm going to do a video coming up very soon on easy fixes, easy faults, common mistakes that I see, top 5, mistakes most archers make, things like that. From like the same vein tearing off and them not understanding that if they just turned their knock just a little bit, the vein would clear the rest or the plunger and they wouldn't have that issue anymore. Points being loose in their arrows, stuff like that. Little things that I took for granted that I made sure never happened, but a lot of people don't know those things. So, like I said, it's motivating to see that type of stuff because I want to fix those faults in the community and bring awareness to just every little detail, not from a overanalyzing standpoint, but from a just pay attention to make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed before you go shoot. Some very simple things. Like I said, it's been quite awakening to see those little bitty faults that have come up. Like I said, nobody had their limbs aligned. I found lots of archers with their points or pins loose in their arrows, veins tearing off on the same side, plunger stiffness way out of whack, on every end of the spectrum, too stiff, too weak as well. Strings that are coming apart, brace heights that are ridiculous, like really, really basic stuff in my mind. So again, like I said, I'm really going to try to do my best to try to help turn around the community. Another thing that came to my mind was the realization that there really isn't a solid informational book out there from a high-level archer's standpoint for tuning. I did Apptitune, the app that I had designed with Jesse. He did the compound stuff, I did the recurve stuff. And, that worked out, although it needs a lot more information. And now that I am handling the development side firsthand, I can add all of those things. So I've really taken it upon myself, especially since returning back from London. I've rewritten all of the material completely from top to bottom using my method, which with way more details, way more reasonings, better pictures and everything. I'll be updating the app in the future, but first I'm going to be selling a book for I think I'm going to call it Tuning for Performance. So it gives you my personal method on how I tune from top to bottom, so there is a reference that you can easily flip through to find instead of having to dig through all these videos for all this information. I did put a lot of not just the basic stuff, but also my specific techniques and my thought process behind things. I just finished the first rough draft and edited the pictures. So we're going through some editing process and stuff, and we'll be selling it in the future. So keep an eye out for the launch on that. Hoping within a week or two to announce that. And I've been kind of just taken back a bit from how I left the sport to now how I've been received on the way back in. So. It's very encouraging to hear everybody's feedback and appreciation and offers for help and all sorts of things. And, I really appreciate it. So like I said in the past, instead of having like a Patreon or something like that, I feel that I really want to give you something for your hard-earned money, especially in the sport. People seem to be a bit limited by funds at times, especially in the beginning, which everybody is. I was and still am at this point, So anyway, I'm trying to give you something for your hard-earned money. So this book, and then I'll update the app. A word on the app, Apptitune, as well. People that had purchased it on iTunes, for the iPhone or whatever, you can now get it. It's still live. It works. However, the Android version, I've had a lot of questions like, why isn't it back up on Android? Long story short, Google Play Marketplace, which handles Android, and Google Play, they have a specific encrypted code that is in the base file of the actual app that the developer puts in when they upload it. And if you have that code recorded down, you can upload new versions anytime, right? But I didn't do the development on my own. I hired somebody to do that, and they have dropped off the face of the earth. I've tried calling them. They don't return my phone calls or nothing. So there's no way for me to put the app back for sale on Android without it charging the people who've already paid for it again. And, in order for me to kind of go through and have you guys screenshot me receipts and send it back to me and all this stuff, it would be really difficult and probably pretty impossible, because there's a few thousand copies have sold on Android, and for me to manually do that and go through everybody's stuff would take forever. And so I'm trying to come up with another option. Anyway, the app itself, I'm not going to have just a tuning app anymore. It's going to be an all-around archery app. So there's going to be a lot of the stuff from the book that my wife and I wrote, Training for Archery, and which I'll put a link in the description below if you guys want to check out some of that, the information on that book. But not only are we going to put some of that information in it, some training plan specific data, some training games, some Tabata timers to help work with SPT and all sorts of other stuff, but I'm going to try to turn it from a tuning app into an archery app, specific to the type of stuff that I like to talk about and share. A lot of the featured information on this channel will be put on it. So I'm trying to bring a lot more value to it, so that way when I put it back out on the Android and Google Play Marketplace, that it'll be more affordable, but also it will be, I don't want there to be a sour taste in anybody's mouth because I have to rebuy it. I'm really sorry. There's no way for me to go around that. I've tried. It's impossible. I have no other option. So I'm sorry. I don't really know what to do there. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was where I'm going to be taking this channel long term, outside of, the tuning stuff, form stuff, training stuff, things like that. I have a plan, and I've already drawn up designs to do a lot of third-party testing for equipment. The challenge for this is the financial challenge. So I can do the vane testing, I can do the knock testing, I can do the aero lube testing. But doing the limb testing, doing the riser testing that I want to do, I have to buy all of the limbs. The reason that I want to buy them is because I want no outside influence. I want no favors to owe anybody. I don't want limbs to be given to me for me to have to owe a favor to the manufacturer and not be honest. I don't think many manufacturers would send me their limbs for a honest third-party test, in comparing and contrasting them directly to other options out on the market. So I have a lot of designs that I've been working on, as well as starting to build for testing vanes like wind drift, RPM, like the spin, lots of stuff like drag and things like that. But not only that, also limb stuff, like how stable it is, how torsionally stable it is, the flex pattern, the draw force curves, all sorts of stuff. Riser flex in plane, out of plane, center line distances to specific mounting points on the bow itself. I have a lot of things planned that I want to do. It'll be very similar to, I kind of got the idea from a YouTube channel. It's in the States. It's called Project Farm. I'll put a card here for one of his videos. He basically does a lot of third-party testing and tests like motor oils, epoxies, glues, penetrating oils, things like that. And he compares them all head to head in like a 10 to 20 minute video. Test them all. Is one better than another? Do they work faster, cleaner, whatever? There's a lot of testing that he does. It's all third party, so that means he buys all of the products. He does not do any sort of sponsorship at all, and so that's kind of along the lines that I want to do. So again, like I said, the hard part and the difficult part is going to be the financing of it because of the raw costs of all the limbs and risers and things like that, because I don't want to just test one or two. I'd love to do a shootout of like the $100 limbs, the $200 limbs, the $500 limbs, and the top of the line limbs, and compare and contrast all the little details, including, you know, speed and all that stuff, to give more data out there to clear the air of so many questions that are out there, because nobody does it. So I have the ability, I have the time, I have the fabrication skills to make the jigs and everything. I should have no problem making all of these things happen. It's just the financing. So if anybody's got some ideas out there, I know like I said, I didn't want to do Patreon in the past. Maybe because of this and staying third party specific to this type of thing, that may happen. I'm not sure yet. But like I said, I'm excited that there's been such positive feedback from the community. So I want to continue moving forward and use that momentum to expand even further. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I just want to kind of share some thoughts that I've had over the last few weeks that are a little difficult to input into the other videos I've done, as well as it's difficult to kind of get out there without just doing a random thought video like this. So I appreciate you guys watching the channel, and if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button as well. I appreciate it. Take care. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time a new video is uploaded. For seminar and book info, head to jkaminski.com or click on the link below. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. If you would, please share this video. It really helped get the word back out that I am back out there. Thanks again. Take care.